11 years. Gosh, makes me sound way older than I feel. I just want to thank everybody so much for this, and everybody for being here. And Don, thank you for the amazing legacy that you continue with Accuracy in Media, and everybody who's involved with AIM. I mean, it's fantastic to know that there are other people out there willing to seek the truth and speak the truth. And that's kind of what it's all about. And I mean, I always write something to say and I never go off of it. I just want to thank a few people. I feel like I'm giving an Oscar speech. I should cry and talk about my mother or something. My husband, who's here, he's taking photos. And of course, I want to thank Andrew Breitbart, who called me. He called me one day and said, "Hey, what do you think of editing BigJournalism?" Now, I had sort of taken a sabbatical from media. I always wanted nothing more in life than to be involved in media, than to tell what was going on in the country, to tell people what was happening in their communities, to be able to distribute information, and not put my opinion in it, because nobody cares what a reporter thinks. And I know Roger was talking about how with Cheryl Atkinson, no one's ever asked her about her politics. Nobody even knows. I don't know. We've given her kudos. I don't know how many times over at BigJournalism. I don't know her politics. I don't know Jake Tapper's politics. I don't know Dana Bash's politics. I just know that they do good work, and that's how it should be. Nobody cares what a reporter thinks. And these individuals actually have been doing a lot to sort of restore my faith in journalism, which I've lost. I have always wondered whether or not journalists can still be objective. Is there such a thing as objectivity? I sort of had a midlife crisis about it, and been wondering if that even exists anymore. But so many people that I want to thank, including all of the grassroots bloggers that write for BigJournalism, and that come on my radio show and that send us stories that they've covered. People like Lila Rose with Live Action. One of the stories that we've covered at BigJournalism was something nobody was talking about. Lila Rose, who's just this college girl, and she founded this college organization. Whoever thought that a college girl could do so much damage to a narrative before? It's a true testament to, girl power, to borrow from the Spice Girls. She went out and began doing these investigative reports with Planned Parenthood. And everyone in here is really familiar with the one that she did, where they were bringing in underage girls to Planned Parenthood, saying that their boyfriends were infinitely older than they are. And can they go ahead and get an abortion? And can we keep it a secret from our parents? And it's statutory rape. And all of these, so many Planned Parenthood clinics just went right along with it. And then she called in after there was a huge fight over there was the congressional inquiry into this whole matter with Planned Parenthood. Then she went back because there's the discussion of breast cancer and mammograms. And she called a number of Planned Parenthood clinics in 27 different states where there are paid media members that don't even like to do that amount of legwork. And she called, I don't even remember how many clinics, 27 different states, asked them whether or not she could go in and get a mammogram. Every single one of them, without exception, every one of them told her, "No, we're going to have to refer you. We provide the most basic of screenings, but we don't provide mammograms. We don't have mammography machines. You have to be licensed to even own and operate a machine on your premises." But that's not how it got told in the media. A lot of people don't even realize that. And then the story blew up when her telephone conversations, when those videos came out. And then the battle over public funding for Planned Parenthood began. This is an organization that gets in millions of dollars every single year. Now we have the big bust up with the Komen Foundation. The Komen Foundation, as a result of that congressional inquiry into Planned Parenthood, because of the statutory rape and the underage girls that were being brought in, they said, "You know what? Kind of want to look at bringing our money to clinics that actually can provide the services that you're claiming to provide." And then you all saw the reaction to that. It wasn't just with the Soros and SEIU funded Media Matters, which we document every single day up on BigJournalism, and that's one of my most favorite things to write about ever. It wasn't just Think Progress. It wasn't just Crooks and Liars. This was MSNBC and NBC, and every major network was saying this is such a catastrophe. Look at these crazy right-wingers trying to say that Planned Parenthood doesn't help for women. And this was the narrative, that Lila Rose was some sort of evil monster that just she didn't care about women who had breast cancer. Conservatives don't care about women that have breast cancer, and they want to have women die out in the streets. It's something that Nancy Pelosi almost verbatim said. She did an interview with Andrea Mitchell, And Andrea Mitchell wasn't asking questions like a reporter does. She wasn't asking questions. She was sitting there sympathizing with Nancy Pelosi and sharing her outrage. I couldn't tell at one point who was more outraged, Nancy Pelosi or Andrea Mitchell. That line between an objective reporter and an activist had been crossed. And it has been crossed. It's one of the reasons why I completely gave up on media when I was a kid. I was so fed up with it. I was so tired. I studied it in college. And then I said, you know what? I was 20. I had my midlife crisis. Get it out of the way. And I said, I'm done. I'm totally done with this. I watched as bias was edited into the stories that I freelanced for local magazines and newspapers. And I was just like, this doesn't exist anymore. Everything that I thought about media was a lie, and it doesn't exist anymore. So I quit. And I didn't get back into it until Andrew called. And then I started thinking, reporting about what the media isn't reporting and reporting about what they're doing wrong. That sounds like it was made for me. And so we began this crazy journey that's lasted over a year now. And I was thinking all of this when I was copying the embed code from Larry O'Connor up at Breitbart TV, putting it into BigJournalism about this Andrea Mitchell and Nancy Pelosi exchange. There's so many examples I could give. I wrote just the Fast and Furious stuff. And then, of course, the Gabby Gifford shooting. I could go on and on. The Tea Party violence versus the Occupy violence. One of the things that we've done over at BigJournalism.com and BigGovernment.com, Mike Flynn is the editor of that. He's also here, is compiled a list of criminal offenses by occupiers. All of the things that everyone said people like me and many of the people sitting in here do on a daily basis just by way of being involved with the Tea Party movement. We were these criminals that just wanted to hurt people and wanted to hurt the president and so on and so forth. And now the group that's threatening to come and occupy this movement, that's the group that shot up the White House and threw a smoke bomb over the fence. And that's a group where a known criminal he hid out in their encampment so he wouldn't be apprehended. All of those things and none of this, you don't hear stories. You didn't hear a story about the occupier, I think it was in Pittsburgh, who just rammed his SUV into a bank building just the other day. Nobody talks about this. But you had a black man that brought a gun to a rally, I think out in Arizona, exercising his Second Amendment rights, and MSNBC crops out his skin color so they can go with their old white Tea Party or racist meme and say that look at these violent Tea Partiers, these violent people that are bringing firearms to these things. That's the sort of thing. That's all that I love to point that out. I love to point it out. I think I've grown more confrontational as this is all played out. But you have to be. Somebody has to be. Somebody has to go up against the Media Matters and has to, I'm so happy to be working with AIM, and, AIM does this every single day, and they're just a fantastic beacon in this world of absolute bias. And it's a pleasure to be in the trenches with them. And I know Media Matters was mentioned. I was really hoping Cheryl Atkinson was going to be here because I do so admire her work. She's a reporter. She's just a fantastic reporter, and I love her Fast and Furious work. That's how media should be. She reports the documents that she posted on CBS's website showing that the ATF was actually working to use this as a reason to push gun control. Fast and Furious, our government arming drug cartels to shoot over 300 dead Mexicans and a Border Patrol agent. And it's our fault somehow. We need to have more laws upon us. And I saw this past week all of the mentioning of Atkinson being here. Media Matters, Think Progress were really hitting it hard. I've been watching them on Twitter. I've been watching them on their website. They had 4 or 5 stories just devoted to her this past week. You can't show up here. You can't show up and get an award from Accuracy in Media. You can't stand on stage with Dana Loesch. You can't go there to the CPAC. That's the bigot conference. Don't you know that? It'll ruin your reputation. Then they went out and they got all of these pull quotes from these different I Googled every single one of these guys. Not a single one of them are conservative. As soon as I saw their names, I made a list. And then I went and started looking up everything that they've ever said. I love the internet. And of course, these are all super far Media Matters, Soros sympathizers that were saying all of this about Cheryl Atkinson. Oh, well, she'll show up there and it'll ruin her reputation. Is that what you want to be known for, Cheryl Atkinson? She told the truth. Isn't that the whole entire point of this? She told the truth. She got it out there. She had it on television. She had it on CBS's website. And they're enraged. They're so enraged that she's tattletaling on the government that they are willing to call her bigot and everything else simply and say her reputation's going to be in ruins simply by showing up here. It's fascistic. And so that's where we come in at Big Journalism. And that's, I talked about that on my show today. I just wrapped up before I came up here. It's entities like that shame media. This website, Media Matters, which is, I want to point this out as well because this is of a personal nature. I was there when Kenneth Gladney was beaten in the parking lot. I was there at that town hall. I was there in the room, and I bet my husband, I said, I know something's going to happen tonight. It's going to get incredibly violent because they were just, you could tell they were waiting for it. They were waiting for something to happen. They bust people in. And sure enough, it did happen. In the days following that, Media Matters received a massive wad of cash money from SEIU. And immediately after receiving that money, they went to run defense for SEIU against Kenneth Gladney, and they just didn't go after Kenneth Gladney. If you're a black conservative American, they would go after you. Yes. And they trashed absolutely everyone, anyone who spoke out in defense of Gladney. And they never disclosed that to their readers. Nobody ever knew until Liberty Chick at Big Journalism published these documents showing the amount of money that SEIU gave Media Matters, how much money it was. Didn't say what they did with it, but it was just very curious that it happened right when the Gladney thing was happening, and then they started running defense. That's not Media Matters. They're a 501c3 tax-exempt organization that's a fascistic, witch-hunting, blacklisting, book-burning den of thieves. That's what they are. Lift it up! A suit jacket on, I'd have to take it off. And they've been, and I was told that Roland, I don't think Roland's in the room, but Roland Martin was here. And I'm proud to say that Roland Martin is my friend. And he's funny. And he may be a liberal, but he's a nice liberal. And I can get along with him. I promised him I was going to watch the movie Friday when we were sitting on set together. We had this big conversation about humor, and he said, I watch Best in Show, so you have to watch Friday now. And I told him the next time we were on set together that I was going to watch it, and I'd be able to talk with him about it. He's a good guy, and he's been under attack. And that's, I feel that what I do in grassroots journalism is a lot more than just pointing out media hypocrisy, pointing out media omission, which is bias, pointing out when media goes after people like Atkinson, or when they go after Tapper, or when they go after, any one of us, telling the truth simply about what's happening. It's also about getting in there and having a discussion. Everyone lost their minds when I went and signed with CNN. About 80% of my mail that came in was from conservatives. Why are you doing this? Why are you going with CNN? Do you realize, did they have a gun to your head? Why are you going there? Somebody has to. I love the fight. I love it so much. I wake up every single morning thinking, whose face can I get in today? It's I don't know, maybe it's I'm from southern Missouri, so we're a little southern. Maybe that has something to do with it. But we can't just preach to the choir. There's never been a single battle that has ever been won by the general just staying in his encampment and only talking to his side. You got to go out in the battlefield. Sometimes you have to go in the enemy camp too. And I think that liberty evangelism, that's what when I go on CNN, when I go on HBO or any of these other outlets, that's what I'm doing is liberty evangelism, getting the truth in there, talking about Lila Rose, talking about the reporting that I see Accuracy in Media do, talking about what I see grassroots journalists doing every single day and discovering the stories that nobody else is watching. And I love doing it. And it's an absolute lot of fun. I could go on forever. I'm in talk radio. I could go on for a long time. I just want to say, I want to make this last point, and then I'm going to leave the mic. You're going to keep me for Q&A. Media is huge. Media is we're not going up really so much against Barack Obama in 2012 as conservatives. We're going up against the media. In my opinion, Barack Obama has already been defeated. It's the media that's keeping him politically on life support. And our battles with the media. And everyone, I have some people who say, why is it that you focus so much on media? Why can't we talk about some of these other, policy issues? And that's all great. But when my kids sit down and they crack open their history books, we homeschool as well. When my kids sit down and they crack open their history books, when my grandchildren sit down and start studying American history, when my great-grandchildren, when all of yours sit down, I want them to crack open those books and read what has something accurately recorded about what is going on right now. I want people to know what we are doing. I want them to know everything that we've been through, every battle that we fought, everything that we've had to face in order to keep them free. The things that are in the headlines today, that's what goes in the history books tomorrow. And we have a duty to make sure that it's accurately recorded. Because if you don't remember history, how does the adage go? You're doomed to repeat it. So that's what I do. I want to thank you guys so much for this honor.